Floor to Mr. Agnew.
It seems to be split into two. There's a housekeeping part, and then there's an actual talking about the budget part. On the housekeeping part, I don't mind too much if we have some sort of an AGRI meeting on the Monday evening of Strasbourg, as long as I'm not speaking in the plenary on the Monday evening. And so, depending upon that, I'm either in favour of it or against it. Tongue-in-cheek, Chairman, I wonder how the committee would react if we said we could have AGRI meetings on a Thursday afternoon after voting. I don't think that would go down very well at all. But there is a rule book on this, and as I understand it, the rule book says in Strasbourg there should be no, and I'm hoping Philippe will pay attention to what I'm saying because he's looking somewhere else. Philippe, you know the rule book. And I think the rule book says there can be no committee meetings in Strasbourg, but maybe you will put me right on that. At the second part of the debate, we're talking about money going astray, and my speaker on my right there was quite eloquent talking about it. In the UK, we make a huge effort to make sure that money doesn't go astray. We make such an effort that it takes us so long to do this, we end up getting fined by the European Union for making the payments late in our efforts to try and make sure they are correct. So you can go over the top on this, and it's one very good reason, I have to say, for Brexit. Thank you.
And then finally, some of you also referred to point 4 that talks about misreporting by the Member States. The Commission has, on many occasions, also Commissioner Hogan made it clear that we do not believe that the Member States are misreporting their errors. We simply believe the Member States are reporting the errors they find, but that they don't always find all the errors. And therefore, the Commission, when we do the annual activity report and our error rate estimates, top up the error rate of the Member States. But it's not misreporting, it's simply that their system do not always pick up all the errors. And I think that's an important thing. We every year look at the reports that are sent to us on the control statistics of the Member States, and we have not been able to find any cases of false reporting or misreporting, but simply sometimes the system doesn't pick up the errors in the Member States. Hence, a higher error rate determined by the Commission and the Court of Auditors compared to the Member States' control statistics. And finally, as we are talking about the control statistics, I think, of course, what Mrs. Kattenbach also mentioned, we base ourselves on the controls done in the Member States. That's the fundamental part of this system. It's not first the Commission's audits or the Court of Auditors audits, but it is what is done in the Member States, the implementation, and then they do the controls, and then we have a look if those controls work. That's sort of the control framework, if you want. But again, thank you very much for an opinion that recognises the decrease in the error rate.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Borchmann.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Mr. Harris, United Kingdom.
I did ask Philippe about the rule book on Strasbourg committee meetings. I haven't had an answer yet.
Thank you. Well, the answer is that indeed the Bureau rules foresee that meetings such as shadows meetings should not normally be organized in Strasbourg during the plenary sessions, but the fact is that derogations are routinely requested and derogations are requestedly granted. So at the end of the day, it's basically the appreciation of the President of the Parliament. But I mean, we, like all other committees, process a lot of derogations for organizing shadows in Strasbourg. But then there is an appreciation as to whether it doesn't clash with important meetings, with important events happening in plenary, so not with votes, for example, or things like that. And then there is a question of room and interpretation. But if there are no major reasons for rejecting, normally we do obtain the derogation. But you are right in the sense that the principle is that there is no such meeting, therefore a derogation is needed.